Whitney,
Yes, sir.
you there? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I thought you was falling asleep on me now.
No, I'm excited. This is fantastic.
Well, just for the record, what price range houses do you deal in when you lease option amount in Tennessee?
I sold one today on a lease option for $140,000.
And what size deposit did you get on that one?
I got $10,000 on it.
Okay, that's about right for 140. So that's $10,000 that you get to keep and do whatever you want to do with. There's no escrow account for you to put it in. Please do not confuse these deposits with escrows, accounts that realtors have. This is your money. You never have to give it back. You have to only apply credit. In other words, if they go to the bank and get a loan, it'll show that they've already given you $10,000 on the closing statement. Nobody brings the money to closing. It is your money to go spend it on whatever the heck you want to do with it. So you keep the money. I want to make that clear. Some people think that I got this check, but I can't use it. Well, you can use it. So, Ron, how often will you find a tenant buyer with $30,000? Well, the answer is it's going to depend on the price range of the house you're in. Notice Whitney only got 10, but notice the price of her house was $140,000. All right. Once you get past in many areas, it's going to be area specific now based on the value of the house. But once you get above the $200,000 mark, you're going to find that these deposits come in pretty hot and heavy because people looking for little higher priced houses are not broke. They wouldn't be looking if they were broke. And I know it might take a little while for you to really believe that people run around with this kind of cash, but you've got to remember, these are folks who cannot qualify at a bank, and you are the one giving them a chance to get into a house they can call their own and live in it and have the right to buy it. You're very big public service you're providing when you put this out to the market. Whitney, when you started, I bet you had a little trouble believing people would bring you that kind of money too, didn't you?
I sure did. But the first deal that I did, which your VAs helped me get under contract, I had a seller, we signed the contract, and 2 weeks later, I had a buyer bring me $3,000 in the first 10 minutes that I talked to him. And then I got another $15,000 8 weeks later, 6 weeks later after that. So I had a hard time believing it.
Yeah, I know. I'd expect most people will till they actually get it.
It's shocking, too. I've had people give me $40,000 before.
The highest one I've ever gotten on a single family house was $150,000, and it was only a $400,000 house. Woo. So, with a little bit of training, you'll understand why people do this and how we go about it. Because the last thing we're going to do is tell people how much we want. I got that in here somewhere. Remember, the deposit is not taxable until the tenant moves or buys the house. So, the question is, how many $20,000 checks will you need? And, I need to put a disclaimer in here. I can't guarantee you're going to make $20,000 when you do this. I can't guarantee you anything. But I can guarantee you that when you're looking for tenant buyers on beautiful homes and beautiful neighborhoods, it's not a matter of finding one. It's a matter of picking the best of the best because they're going to come at you big time. And now what we're really after is the monthly cash flow and the back end payday. But, I'll confess, those big front end deposits are kind of nice to have.
They sure are.
All right. There's another quick one here. The ARV was 2.25, and the purchase price was $155 because that's what the loan was, but it needed $25,000 worth of work. So you can see why the seller was willing to walk away. Now that's $25,000 that if we bought it that we'd spend because we'd do a lot more repairs to it than somebody taking this thing over and willing to do the work themselves. So the payment was $1,200. I give nothing down. I had $2,500 in closing costs. But instead of doing the work in this case, I did what's called a work for equity. They moved in it. They gave me a $20,000 deposit knowing this house needed all that work because you see, folks, 25 that we'd spend looks like about 3,000 or 4,000 of them because all they got to do is buy the materials. And they're going to do the labor themselves, and they're not going to fix it up anywhere near as nice as we would if we were going to retail it to a qualified buyer. So I say it again, I lease optioned it as is. I didn't do anything to the house and still got a $20,000 deposit. I can't promise you're going to get that on every house that needs work, but hey, depends on how patient you are and how well you follow my instructions. So they still owe me $179 and I owe $155, but I've already pulled 20 grand out of it. And they're paying $1,500 a month rent, and I'm paying $1,200. So I have a monthly cash flow, and they got 2 years to either fix it up and get it refinanced, or fix it up and decide they, or not fix it up and decide they want to move, or the time expires and they've done nothing, in which case I would just extend it. I don't ever move anybody out of a house because they haven't fixed it up. Just keep collecting the rent. So I netted $17,500, $300 a month, and I got $24,000 worth of equity left in it. Not bad for a free house, huh, Whitney?
That sounds fantastic.
Well, that's because it's real and it's true.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. Well, what if they don't fix the house, Ron? Or what if they don't buy it? Well, if they don't fix it, what's the harm? It was in terrible shape when they moved in. It can't be in any worse shape when they move out. And I mean, they have to live in it. What if they don't buy it? Well, the truth is most of them don't, because they just won't do what it takes to get it fixed up, and they move. And if they move, don't forget, they leave behind that $20,000, because the deposit is absolutely, totally non-refundable, clearly specified in documents that are closed in front of an attorney. So either they buy or they don't buy. You win either way. If they move, they forfeit their deposit, and it's clear going in. And nobody's, of course, going to give you a $20,000 deposit if they don't intend to buy. But on the other hand, we intend to do a lot of things that we don't actually do. Things change, divorces, sickness, moving, all those things. But I will not force anybody out of the house just because they can't buy it. In fact, I got a couple of tenants right now that have been in them for over 11 years. Their option expired 10 years ago. I don't care. Let them keep on making the monthly payments. Let the goose live. I get $300 a month. I get debt reduction. Don't forget, every time I collect rent, I make a payment. My debt goes down every month, and that spread grows really fast. And I get to depreciate the house as long as I own it, which in my case is, I hope, forever. So different way of looking at the business, because most people coming into the business are after that almighty check on the back end, but sometimes they don't take time to figure out what it cost them to cash out of the house. I got money now, money monthly, money later. Why on earth would I want this goose to die? Here's some income streams. By the way, if you can, you might want to take screenshots of this stuff, because I know it's a lot to take notes on, but if you're able, take this one, because this is a great one to keep reminding you why you don't want to cash out now. You got a non-refundable option deposit. That means non-refundable option deposit. Once you get it, it is yours to keep. You got a monthly cash flow, which I hope you can build to the point very quickly that where you don't have to work if you don't want to. You get a lot of free equity. You get debt pay down, and you get to depreciate the entire purchase of the house less the land cost, which will cut down your taxes, and the property value hopefully keeps going up every single month. And then if they do move, you get forfeited deposits. Show me any kind of an asset where you get all those advantages on. Only in real estate. And remember, I got it in the house free, so I'm getting all these advantages for free. It's normal you actually spend money to buy an investment, to make money. In real estate, we buy the properties and then we make money without having to make the investment. So I probably shouldn't be saying this, Whitney, but most of my tenant buyers do not buy.
Mine don't either.
Well, you see, there's two ways to run our business. We can force them to buy, babysit them through it, or hand them the keys and set it and forget it. And I choose to set it and forget it. And if they buy, God bless them, and I'll certainly do everything I can to help them. But that's only if they want to buy. So may the goose live forever. All right. So, Ron, of course, I get this one all the time. In fact, this is one of the big problems people can't get in their mind when they first start. And that is, why would the seller take a monthly payment? Well, there's a whole lot of reasons, and most of them won't. Only the ones that don't need the cash or have any cash coming. So obviously, if we're going to get terms from a seller, it means they don't have any cash coming because we're buying it for what they owe or close, or they don't have to have the cash. And the people who have to have the cash are simply screened out quickly on autopilot, so that we're only going to deal with the ones that pass our scrutiny. So here's some more reasons that sellers will sell on terms. Number one, it's a quick sale. I mean, I can buy a house within 3 days after getting an agreement signed with a seller, because I don't have any of those costly entanglements or no loans and all that stuff. They get debt relief, and that's probably the biggest reason people sell with a loan on their house, get rid of that payment. They get stress relief. Getting the house sold is a big deal to a lot of folks. In fact, it's such a big deal. Some of them actually get ill trying to get it sold. And I know you may wonder, why don't they just list it with a realtor? Well, there's a whole list of reasons why they won't do that as well. And sometimes the realtor won't even take it because of different situations that they know that they're wasting their time on it. But, you know, I don't know why they don't list them with realtors. But I can tell you that we are the fastest and the easiest ways for any seller to sell a house. And I usually pay all the closing costs, and there is no commission to the seller. All of those are good reasons. We buy it as is, and we get a much higher price than the investor is going to pay get anywhere else selling it any other way, because there is no commission. We pay the closing costs, and if the house is free and clear, we create an income for them. That could be a long-term income. And sometimes the sellers would rather have the monthly payment because they don't want their kids to get the money. And so all these reasons, and frankly, I would suggest, folks, that you just quit asking why. Don't think why will drive you nuts. Ask what and when, and let the seller decide what's best for them. And I'm coming back to that in a minute because that is extremely important. All right, about 75% of the time, now get this very closely, because if you get this, you'll understand that the terms business does not necessarily mean that the seller is going to take a monthly payment. It could simply mean that the seller is allowing you to make their payment. If you'll go back to the two examples I showed you, the seller's not collecting any money. I don't owe them any money. I bought the house for what they owed. They just agreed to let me start making the payments on the house. That's not a hard decision when I'm getting them out of the house quick with no cost to them, and they're getting a debt relief. Loan stays in their name until I pay it off, but they are not making the payment. I am. Remember, we're closed with attorneys. Here's another one that I put in here, no personal liability or no balloon. Oh, this is one of the ones I showed you earlier. Remember, when I bought this house, I guaranteed no debt. I either took over their debt in a trust, a grantor revocable trust. We call them land trust. Therefore, no liability to me. Or I did what's called a wraparound mortgage or deed of trust, still no liability to me. So that's very important to me that you do not guarantee this debt. And as many times as I can, I don't put any balloon. The balloon is when all due and payable sometime in the future, and I try my best to avoid them. But if I do have a balloon, it's going to be several years off. So how many sellers do I need to call to get a deal? I get this one asked all the time. And Whitney, was this a real tough one for you when you went in? I got to sit here and call 100 people before I get a deal. What do you think about that?
That sounds like a lot of people you got to call, but I agree. You have to talk to a lot of people, and you got to get used to hearing no, because everybody's not going to be a deal.
Did you struggle with, well, why would they take a monthly payment?
I did until I talked to my first seller and they offered it.
Okay, so are you telling me that the seller actually made you an offer, Whitney? Is that what you're telling me?
They were in a bind, and I came in and helped them, and I solved their problem. So, yeah.
All right. So how many sellers do you need to get a deal? Well, I wished I could answer that for you, because if I could, I know it might make your mind easier. But the truth is, it all depends on two things. Number one, where are you getting your leads from? Are they quality leads? Are they junk? And how are you handling the call? Well, fortunately, I got both of those covered for you, because I give you a whole list of ways to get leads coming in. But it all starts right here with this. This is our property information sheet. This is the beginning of the entire process. This is where our VA or you or yours starts collecting information on the seller so we can decide what to do with it next. Now, if you take a look at this sheet, you'll see a box down there called A, and it says, will you sell for what you owe? Now, that's only applicable if there's a small gap between what they owe and what they're asking. And if that's not the case, then they're asked a B. Would you consider taking a monthly payment until we can pay you off in full? If the answer comes back yes, then we call it a yes lead. If it comes back no, we call it a no lead. Now, Whitney, you tell me, which one are we going to get most, no's or